Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. The government of Prime Minister Nuri Al-Maliki has been accused of sectarian bias, distributing posts and favors according to religious identity. A broad coalition has been formed comprising politicians, tribal sheikhs and civic leaders, demanding Al-Maliki put an end to political sectarianism. Critics of this coalition say that it is doomed to fail in its demands. They argue that sectarianism is inherent in the Iraqi political system and that the only way to get rid of it is to tear up the Iraqi constitution. Debate on sectarianism is a potentially explosive topic that touches on fundamental issues of identity and influence. Owen Fay reports.
Section 2, Article 14 of the Iraqi Constitution could not be more explicit. It states, Iraqis are equal before the law without discrimination based on gender, race, ethnicity, origin, color, religion, creed, belief, or opinion. And yet a great number of people here believe those words have not been put into practice and likely never will. Many are convinced that within the highest rank, rules are quietly being implemented to protect Shiites at the expense of the rest of the nation. The rationale, say critics, comes from internal pressures being placed on the government. Pressures which not only have undue influence on Nuri Al-Maliki and his supporters, but pressures which were apparent during Ibrahim al-Jafri's term in office before him. In this regard, no leader faces more of a challenge than Tariq al-Hashimi. For the past month, he has been orchestrating the conditions necessary for the National Accordance Front to return to government. But he will not return the nation's largest Sunni bloc simply to bolster the Prime Minister. On numerous occasions, he has stated they will return because of the patriotic obligation to the nation of Iraq. But that patriotism must apply to all the people. In other words, rights spelled out in the Constitution are meaningless unless all Iraqis are treated equally, and the government's efforts in this regard are transparent. For young people growing up in Iraq today, they are part of the first generation who will experience a democratic government built to safeguard their rights. But many people here right now feel the deck is stacked against them and that the rights of a Sunni child won't be as safeguarded as the rights of a Shiite child, which is why at the highest ranks of government right now, battles are being fought to make sure that doesn't happen. For Inside Iraq, I'm Owen Fay in Baghdad.
To discuss the chances of the current efforts to put an end to sectarianism, I'm joined from Abu Dhabi by Iraq's elder statesman and member of the Iraqi parliament, Adnan al-Pachachi, and from New York by Iraq's envoy to the United Nations, Ambassador Hamid al-Bayati, and from London by Sabah Al-Mukhtar, president of the Arab Lawyers Association. Welcome to all of you. Adnan al-Pachachi, let me start with you. This is not the first effort to put an end to sectarianism, and most probably is not going to be the last. What lies behind this new effort? Have you reached the end of your rope?
Well, we hope to convene a general conference within 3 months. The aim of that is really to have a solid, popular front to contest the elections, the provincial elections this year and the parliamentary elections at the end of next year. Our aim really is to reject completely sectarianism as a method or the basis for political activity in this country. We have also enunciated certain demands and principles. The main one is really the cleaning up of the security forces so that they will be reorganized in such a way on a professional basis and with undivided loyalty to the Iraqi state. At the same time, we hope to be able to have elections which are free and honest without the fraud that we have seen in previous elections. Our belief in elections stems from the fact that the only possible method of change in Iraq at present is through parliamentary elections. There is no other way of change. And change is a very strong demand now by the people of Iraq because of the precariousness of the security situation, the problems of daily living, the services, the absence of services, and of course the corruption and mismanagement that is too prevalent in Iraq at present.
Hamid al-Bayati, Adnan al-Pachachi just now heaped all the possible charges on the current government and by implication on all previous governments. Al-Maliki, he has heard this before, he dismissed it all, he is not willing to change. Is it because he believes that he has the backing of other powerful political blocs, and no matter what al-Pachachi says and people behind him, he's just going to proceed the way he is?
Well, before I answer what Adnan Pachachi said, let me talk about the program. The program is biased, it's not neutral, because it's assumed that the government of Maliki is sectarian. They should raise the question whether it's sectarian or not, because everybody in the world knows that this government came after an election, free election by the Iraqi people, and those who win the election supposed to set up the government. However, they decided to have coalition and national unity government. They include even those who didn't have the majority.
Let us put just a word on behalf of the government, Hamid al-Bayati, before you counter what al-Pachachi said. This charge of sectarianism, hold on just a second, please, because not only the Americans they say that, but powerful political blocs that are currently in the government, whether al-Sadris, Ayad al-Allawi, Salih al-Mutlaq, and all other people, they say this government is sectarian. So is it any wonder that the government is the only entity says we are not?
It's easy to throw accusation against anybody, and that's the easy way to attack a government. Now, if you are following what the Americans are saying, that's another matter. We care about Iraq and Iraqi people. Now, the Iraqi people decided that they will select this government, they will elect this government, and there is an election coming up, and the Iraqi people will decide what government they will elect. This is democracy. If we believe in democracy, then this is the only way. But accusing a government of being sectarian or not, it's not up to one single bloc or one single party, because there is obvious objective behind this accusation. But this is a national unity government. When you say sectarian, what do you mean sectarian?
Our third guest, Sabah Al-Mukhtar, sitting there with Westminster behind you, you must be amused with all these accusations and counter-accusations. When Hamid al-Bayati says, I don't understand what you guys mean by sectarianism. Go ahead, this is your chance.
Actually, I'm not amused. I'm amazed at the way that both gentlemen are talking. Both gentlemen were aware when they were creating the so-called opposition in London under the auspices of the Americans. They were creating a sectarian system based on the ethnicity of the Kurds and the Arabs. They were working on the basis that it is not just ethnically, but it is sectarially between the Shiites and the Sunnis. They've talked about the Federation for the Kurds. They've talked about the creation of a senior religious leader in Iraq along the line of we have in Iran. The genesis of the opposition was based totally on sectarianism. The gentlemen, both of them, have come to prominence based on their sect and their ethnicity. They know very well that the first government, which was set up by Bremer, was based on the division between the various sects and ethnicity. For them to now want to try and deny that it is a sectarian government is an absolute nonsense. The second thing, for the others who are participating in the process, who came on the sectarian ticket, to say now they have just realized that it's a sectarian government, it's way beyond understanding. I thought it is President Bush and our Prime Minister Brown who are burying their heads in the sand, but clearly the Iraqis are burying their heads in much deeper sand than those two.
Let us give one of the Iraqi gentlemen, Hamid al-Bayati, a chance to respond. Go ahead, Hamid al-Bayati.
Well, I'm not surprised that somebody who worked for a sectarian regime and defended that regime, which is Saddam regime, a brutal dictator, who worked as a lawyer for the embassy in London during Saddam time, to say that. Now, we know that Saddam regime was sectarian when he fought, and he was, of course, he followed a policy of ethnic discrimination when he fought the Kurds, the Turkomans, the Assyrians, and when he fought the Shiite. Now, we know that the government of Iraq now include the Kurds, the Sunnis, and the Shiite, which is the component of the Iraqi people.
Adnan al-Pachachi, you must agree somehow that the genesis for this sectarianism has been codified in the Iraqi constitution. Not only Iraqi scholars, but people outside, they said that was the beginning of the slide towards sectarianism. Do you share that sentiment?
The constitution, of course, does not reflect any kind of sectarianism, because it has been quoted, I think, before this meeting has started. The fact of the matter is that when we entered the elections last time, we presented to the people of Iraq a non-sectarian list in which there were Sunnis, Shias, Arabs, Turkomans, Christians.
I fail to understand, Adnan al-Pachachi, from you and from Hamid al-Bayati. Simply by the quota system, you are saying that we are not sectarians. Here, the word sectarianism means the political power, the divvying up of the post, giving the undue imbalance political leadership to certain parts. You just mentioned that the Iraqi army and the police are sectarian.
We are totally against it. I personally was against it, as everybody knows, when I was a member of the governing council. We believe that the only criteria for the appointment to senior posts and ministerial posts is really competence, integrity, and experience, and not confessional affiliation or religious identity or ethnic identity. So, I mean, we want to change the whole way that Iraqi system is working. And I think, excuse me, sir, I think the Iraqi people are entitled to a third way, a third alternative.
Thank you, Adnan al-Pachachi, for that comment. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Please stay with us.
Iraq's mosaic of communities has begun to fragment along ethnic, confessional, and tribal lines, bringing instability and violence to many areas, especially those with mixed populations. International Crisis Group, February 2006.